Our work as followers of Jesus should have three basic qualities. It should be motivated by love, guided by Scripture, and done with excellence. A short word on each to end. First, motivated by love. Paul writes in 1 Thessalonians about, quote, labor prompted by love, or motivated, it can be translated, or driven by agape. Not by ambition or greed or status seeking or performative identity or power or grasping for control or a search for self-worth or validation or accolades to prop up your fragile ego. We may do the same thing as the person one cubicle over, but for a very different reason, motivated by love. Second, guided by Scripture. Some philosophers define work as adding value to the world. Willard called it the expending of energy to produce good. Either definition, value or good. This means that all work is moral, and not all work is blessable by God. We do all we can to find work that is blessable by God. Again, there's privilege here. Not all of us even have that much of a choice, but we do all we can, all that is in our power, to find work that is blessable by God, Garden City kind of work. But it doesn't have to be glamorous. Don't misread me into saying you need to become a film director, making, documentaries about injustice or whatever. That would be really cool. But it can be changing tires at Les Schwab, or bussing tables, or pulling weeds. In fact, historians of religion argue that Christianity was not only the first religion, but the first worldview to ever dignify manual labor as something worthy of respect. Not as, in the ancient world, as it was thought, work for slaves and fit for slaves alone that was beneath the dignity of the ruling class. No, but as good and honest, with God's blessing over it. Adam was a gardener. Jesus was, we say carpenter. Do you know that's actually a really lousy translation? The Greek word is tekton, and it just means like builder or worker. There's no wood. I've been to Nazareth. Have you ever been there? There's like one tree in the whole area, and it's not even Eastern Oregon tree. It's like 10 feet tall at best, right? If that. It's more likely that he was what we would call a mason, a stone worker. He was most likely strong and burly and would do the hard work of masonry day in, day out to build cities and homes for people to live in. This was good and honest work. Jesus did it for decades of his life. Third, our work must be done to the best of our ability. Not to the best, not in a competitive sense, that's just more of the ego, that's careerism, but to the best of our ability. There's that line in Colossians, whatever you do, I love that, whatever you do. That's pretty all-encompassing for whatever you give your life to right now. Work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. That's crazy. We are to work as if Jesus was our boss, right? Not the corporation, not the small business or restaurant, not our 3 children. You are not our boss. No. It does feel that way a lot of the time, right, moms and dads? But we are to work as if Jesus was our boss. Dorothy Sayers, many years ago, said the best way to serve Jesus at work is to, quote, serve the work. What she meant by that was just to be really good at whatever it is you do. In her classic irreverent tone, she said, the church's approach to an intelligent carpenter is usually confined to exhorting him to not be drunk and disorderly in his leisure hours and to come to church on Sundays. What the church should be telling him is this, that the very first demand that his religion makes upon him is that he should make good tables. Come on. There's a Hebrew concept called kavana that Alan Hirsch writes about in The Shaping of Things to Come. And it basically translates into the power of holy intent. Some rabbis teach that when the fall happened, the manifest glory of God was shattered into tiny, imperceptible pieces. But when we do our work with kavana, with the power of holy intent, meaning when we bring our full presence to a day or to a task, when we are motivated by love, not ego, but we are there to love and serve and make our unique contribution, and when we are guided by Scripture, and when we do all with excellence to the best of our ability, that we are reweaving the manifest glory of God into the created order. One rabbi tells a story about a cobbler who used to weave shoes together. This is long before Nike, okay? Very old analogy. Think leather shoes, when shoes were made by hand. And he tied the top of the shoe to the bottom of the shoe, and as he was weaving it together, he said, "I'm reweaving glory." This is the barista at your local coffee shop, now behind plexiglass, but not for long, who doesn't just hand you your latte with the lid on screwy and say, "Okay, have a good day," but does the heart. You know what I'm talking about? Skills. You have skills. And then puts the lid on where the sippy part is not over the seam. You know what I mean? First world problems, but this is no good when they do that, and then you take a sip and it leaks all over your t-shirt. I mean, this is suffering, all right? Portland style. And then even turns it to just with the logo facing you, and then makes eye contact with you, and just with a smile says something to bless. Just have a great day, or enjoy your flat white, or whatever it is. That's kavana. That's the power of holy intent. That's a form of love. This is the construction worker who doesn't just throw a bathroom remodel together as cheap as possible and ignore the stuff he found behind the wall, but does every step with the skill and attention to detail and passion of an artist. It's the preschool teacher who doesn't just babysit children and throw fishy crackers at them, but is down, eye level, to communicate, if without words, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and you have a destiny in God's great universe. It's the parent who doesn't just hand them a device and go try to survive the day, but is there to unfold children into their full potential. And you thought you were just making breakfast, or spell checking your email a second time, or setting a table. Actually, you are reweaving glory. Any task, no matter how mundane, no matter how unglamorous, can become not just a form of contemplative prayer. It can become a form of kavana with the power of holy intent. Over the last month and a half now, we have been dreaming together about a future church of orthodoxy to the way of Jesus, no matter the cost and the hostility of the culture, of holiness where we are set apart for and dedicated to God, not just in our sexuality, but in our whole body. God, here we are in love to receive all that you are. Men and women of peace who live from a deep calm and serenity in a culture that is swirling in anxiety and rage. Men and women who are peacemakers in a time of political polarization where everybody is angry at everybody else. And now we're dreaming about a Portland and a Bridgetown where we and other followers of Jesus across the city, where we make our contribution to the city's human flourishing. We do what we can for the healing, in particular, of our city over the last year, which we literally see just walking down the sidewalk right now. To be a part of the healing of our city and the renewal of our city, to play our small little part to index Portland a little bit more toward Eden, a little bit more toward Revelation 22, a little bit more toward the new Portland and the new Jerusalem, because as it says in Hebrews, we are looking for a city whose builder and maker is God.